In this video, we're going to be breaking down and giving my initial reactions to all of the changes that happened during the August 2026 update for Marvel Crisis Protocol. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Welcome to this, another MCP video, and the one that I said would be the next one. Thankfully, it is here. It has arrived. The update has arrived. Some mixed reactions that I've been seeing online. Some elated, some very, very annoyed. But what we're going to do in this video is go through each and every character who had something more than a stamina update. Now, the reason for that is, if not, the video would be, I don't know how long, hours and hours and hours long. And I wanted to get one place where we could put all of the sort of bigger changes, some of them not massive, but some other than just the health there. And what we're going to do is, we're then going to sort of, as we go through each one by one, we're going to rank each of those changes and sort of put it into, I'll try and give some kind of context. So one little green arrow up is going to be like, it's a slight buff, it's nothing crazy, but and then there will also be some context around this as well. So depending on where the character was, depending on where they are now, that may also change. But you know, green arrow, one green arrow, slight buff, nothing crazy. Two green arrows, good buff, significantly better. Three green arrows, ooh, AMG, you may have gone too far. Then if we go to the other side of things, we're going to have one red down arrow, slight nerf, nothing crazy. Two down arrows, quite a nerf, but kind of brings them back in line. And then three down arrows, ooh, AMG, you're going to piss some people off. So, okay, without further ado, let's go through each of these one by one, and let's see what we think. So, starting off then with Angela. Angela got quite a few changes that have made quite a big difference, I think. So first of all, she got +1 stamina on her healthy and +1 stamina on her injured. Now, and I'm going to talk about this now before we sort of get further into the video. We know that nearly every character in the game has had a stamina rebalance. So a character getting +1 stamina, or sort of between +1 and +2 stamina, isn't really going to factor into how good or bad I think the changes are, because if everybody else in the game gets +1 stamina, then your +1 stamina is a moot point. However, if you get more than sort of +1, then that's something that I will take into consideration. And also, it very much depends on the character. So a character that's quite tanky, a character that can heal, a character that can negate damage, that gets additional health, well, that additional health actually means quite a bit more, because they're able to do a lot more with that additional 1 stamina, if that makes sense. So yeah, so just some context there. Blades of Ica now has an auto pursuit on there. So before, I think it needed a hit. Now, just before damage is dealt, you're going to get that guaranteed short move toward the defending character, which I think is really, really good, right? On a character like Angela, who is extremely mobile and wants to get around, I think this is really good. And then our other big change is Heaven's Wrath. So it's exactly the same base stat line, but it now adds dice to the attack roll equal to the defender's threat level. It used to be equal to the defender's size. So, like, I don't know if this is going to be. I think overall this will mean that she will get more dice, right? Because the biggest thing in the game was size 5, which meant that at most this could be a 5 plus 5, so a 10 cost attack. Most things in the game, right, the baseline for most things is 3, so most things are 3 threat, or sort of on average things are 3 threat, between sort of 3 and 4 threat, whereas size wise things are between sort of 2 and 2.3, I think. So overall this is going to be more dice at the top end, but even so, more dice at the lower end as well. You're on average getting 1 additional dice per attack now, and they've made the cleave easier to achieve as well. So yeah, overall, I really like this update. And Angela has always been kind of, for me anyway, a really good character, but just on the brink. And now with these changes, I think it makes her exceptionally good. Well, not exceptionally good, but you've got to remember she's also a midline extract grabber. So she's got a lot of other things going for her as well. So I think these changes sort of really do bump her up quite a bit. So I've given her two arrows there. I think this is a really good buff. It's nothing crazy, right? It's not taking her into the stratosphere in terms of what she's going to be able to do. But I do think she was an underperforming 5 threat, and I think this really does bring her in line where actually now there is some competition to say, like, well, do I want to bring a name, or do I want to bring an ASM, or do I want to bring in Angela as that midline extract grabber? So I think overall, I'm really happy with these changes for Angela. Okay then, guys. So next up we have got Ant-Man, aka Scott Lang. So nothing really has changed on his normal card. So let's jump over to his tiny card, because that's where the changes really are. And he's going to get across the board, because obviously his health and stats don't change between tiny and they do ever so slightly, because obviously he goes from a medium move and size 2, but his baseline kind of defense and stamina stats don't change. But he's going to get +1 on his healthy side, +1 on his injured side. He is going to now be able to hold non-civilian assets in his tiny superhero form, and because of that, Hitch a Ride has been changed so that he drops all of his objectives. AMG on this pass weirdly have put some characters where it feels like they've tried to set a precedent with these additional movement things, or at least on some of the characters where it makes you drop things, but actually on some others they haven't done that, which is a little bit strange. But yeah, Hitch a Ride now means that you drop everything that you are holding, which is interesting. Like, it's, I mean, I suppose you can use this to get to somewhere, and then you can change size, and then you can move back. So I suppose that's the way around that you would have to do it. Still no good on civilian based extracts, so he's not going to work with those. But look, having him being able to actually do a little bit more whilst he's in tiny form, I think is pretty good. There are some additional places now where I think you can play Ant-Man. One of Ant-Man's big problems was he didn't really fit within a Steve list at all, as in a Captain America Steve Rogers OG. Now I think there's a real place for him, but we'll sort of get onto how that works once we get to Steve. So yeah, overall, I think this is a buff. It's nothing crazy. Is it going to make him be played a hell of a lot more? I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's enough to get him ahead of some other 3 costs, but we will see. Okay then. Next up, we have got Apocalypse. Now, Apocalypse had only one change to his entire character card, and that was he gained Peerless. Now, we did sort of talk about this during our breakdown and our sort of predictions of what could happen. Apocalypse was one of the characters that was on there, but the real change has come for Apocalypse in his Apocalypse as Horseman. Now, the changes with that are quite significant, so actually we're going to dedicate an entire video on that. There's just too much to go through on this one particular video, but nothing else has changed on Apocalypse's card. However, just as a quick sort of heads up as to where my head's at the moment with what they've done, they took a lot of my ideas. They weren't my ideas, right? They'd already finished the cards and they were already ready to go before I even made that video, and they were through discussions with other people and things. But yeah, they're not. It'll be interesting to see how they come out of the shadows. What I've not done yet is looked at Apocalypse's team as a whole and see what any of the other characters have got in terms of nerfs, upgrades and things like that. But right now, yes, they're getting that one extra arrow, because I think AMG maybe have gone a little bit too far with it. Okay then, guys, on to Baron Strucker, aka Wolfgang von Strucker. And he's had some changes, right? He's got +1 to his healthy and +1 to his injured side. Again, we can't really take that into consideration because most characters in the game are getting +1 to their healthy and +1 to their injured, or at least on average almost 2 stamina across the board. However, strategic genius is no more. It has been replaced with tactical insight. Now, I said that I thought one of two things needed to happen with this ability when I was talking about Baron Zemo. However, Baron Strucker has also got the exact same thing. So, to remind ourselves, strategic genius used to be an innate ability. So it had 0 cost, and it was all characters, including this character. So any allied character within 2, including himself, when they were attacking, defending, they would be able to re-roll 1 dice. Right? Perfectly fine. Well, it wasn't perfectly fine. It was very, very good, but that's what it did. They have now changed this to be, while this character or another allied character within 2 is attacking or defending during the modified dice step, this character may use this superpower. That other character may re-roll 1 die in their roll. So it does work on attacking or defending, but it has been limited to once per turn. So okay, right? That would have been fine. However, it is now a reactive ability, and it now costs 1 power. I think they have gone a little bit too far with this, and because Strucker does, it's not the only thing that he relies on. You know, people aren't splashing Baron von Strucker here, there, and everywhere, right? It's not his only thing that he has. I am only going to give him sort of two pointy down red arrows. But I think this is, I think even with Baron von Strucker, it's almost like he's been caught in the crossfire, if you like, and we'll get on to who they may have been aiming at in a moment. I feel like tactical insight didn't need to be put onto Baron Strucker's card. I think they could have just kept him as strategic genius, and I don't think too many people would have battered an eyelid. The other things that he does outside of his leadership, they're nowhere near the old Zemo levels. So I don't think it was necessarily needed. Now, he does have healing factor 1, so you know that extra health does mean a little bit more to Baron von Strucker. But overall, I think this is two sort of steps down for him, and almost 3. Right? There's an argument to say here it could have been 3. Okay, let's get on to, I think, the character that was in the sights of AMG, and maybe Baron Strucker was somewhat caught in the crossfire, and that is Helmet Zemo, aka Baron Zemo. And boy, has this guy had some changes. So first of all, his stamina is only +1 on his healthy side. Okay, so that is already a little bit under the curve. However, he does have some defensive capabilities, so that makes sense. Strategic Genius has also been replaced with Tactical Insight. So that is, again, absolutely huge for Baron Zemo. We spoke about this compounding effect. And yeah, it's gonna be a little bit rough. And then lastly is Master Swordsman. So Master Swordsman is his reactive ability when he either attacks or is attacked with a physical attack, where he gets to reroll any number of his attack or defense dice. And you have to remember that he's on top of what was Strategic Genius before. This has been reduced to once per turn. So offensively, you're only getting one shot at it. Defensively, you're only getting one shot at it. So I think, was Baron Zemo a problem? Yeah, I think he was. I think for a character who was in the original core box and had, I believe, no changes made to his card whatsoever, for him still to be, if not at the very top of the 3-cost tree, very, very near the top. I'm sure there's an argument to say he was. I'm sure something like Rescue may have come out and maybe she's better now. But to be consistently for I don't know how many years now, 5 years, 6 years, to be at the very, very top, something had to be done. I just think they've gone a bit too far. I think when he hasn't got as much health as everybody else. And then kind of his two big things have been pretty much nerfed into the ground. Obviously, Tactical Insight. It's still not bad, by the way. It still isn't bad. But it is a mile away from where we were before. And then Master Swordsman only being once per turn, and this is probably going to be no surprise to people. But yeah, I think they maybe have gone a little bit too far with this. I think if they'd have kept Strategic Genius with the text, but kept it a zero cost bubble in it, I think that would have been perfectly fine. But I think that with Master Swordsman and the fact he's not getting as much health as everybody else, I think is a big nerf, and it'd be really interesting to see now who replaces Zemo as that kind of go-to 3-cost splash, and how well he performs, or even how much you see him outside of affiliation. Okay, another big one next, and this is Black Bolt, aka Blackagar Boltagon. Now, we also spoke about how Black Bolt had some issues, right? The win rate for Inhumans was huge, and that was mostly under Black Bolt. He was doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. I spoke about how we could potentially, reduce the range of Energy Bolt down to 3, how we could increase a King Serves His People up to 2, but I didn't think it needed much. But AMG have gone after them, or gone after him. So, first of all, he gains Peerless. Now, whilst I don't mind this, we have to sort of address the fact that any character that gains Peerless is going to be a slight nerf, because there's just now fewer situations that they can be played in, and it means that you're limiting yourself, especially with a leader, on potential future releases being able to be played within your affiliation. Now, I get why AMG are doing it. I like that AMG are doing it, but it is still a slight nerf. But King of the Inhumans. So this is where they went for the jugular with Inhumans. So prior to this, it used to be once during each of your turns, One allied character may spend 1 power. If they do, an allied character within range 3 can gain 1 power. Right. So perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. They've done 2 things with it. They've giveth and they've taketh. So the giveth is now range 5. So it's gone up from a range 3 to a range 5. That's really nice. However, the taketh is that one allied character within range 5 of an activating character may spend 1 power at any time. If it does, the activating character gains 1 power. So whereas before you could load power onto a single character and then have them do loads of cool things, now you can only give a power to a character that is activating that turn or is in its activation that turn. It is still good, okay? It is still good. People talking about how, nerfed into the ground. Then I did just say go for the jugular, but really it's not. This is still good. It's just different, okay? I think this offers fewer turn 0 players or turn 1 players, which is what I think, or at least round 1 players, which is what I think AMG are going for. So fewer round 1 players, but actually, as the game progresses and as your characters do spread out and as they do move around the board and go take objectives, actually, this potentially could be better as you get into the long game. It's just going to stop that immediate impact and those really big sort of round 1 plays that you can make within humans. So I'm giving it two thumbs down, if you like, or not thumbs down, but 2 little red down arrows. I think this is bringing them in line. They haven't changed his card whatsoever. So I think you've probably dodged a bullet there in humans players. Peerless will affect you in the future, right? It does mean that there are certain characters now that you can't take with Black Bolt. But yeah, I think these are bringing Inhumans in line, if I'm being perfectly honest. Okay, let's go to Black Dwarf. Who even remembered Black Dwarf was in the game? It has been a minute since I've ever seen Black Dwarf on the table. Are these changes going to make him any better? Well, he's going to get +1 stamina on his healthy side. Again, he does have that invulnerable skin, so that +1 health does mean quite a bit more. He has had a power reduction in Brutal End. It's gone down from 4 power to 3 power. But that's it. Does this mean he's going to get ahead of any of the other 4 costs, either splashed or otherwise in Black Order? Probably think no. Is this going to be enough to make you play him outside of affiliation? I think probably no. Look, is it an upgrade? Yes. Is it enough to make people go, ooh, Black Dwarf, he could be viable now? I don't think so. I don't think this is enough to bring him into contention either within affiliation or even outside of affiliation. So unfortunately for Black Dwarf, it's not enough, I don't believe. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. The world has ended, or the world would have ended if you believed what you're reading on Facebook and the Discords and Reddit this morning. Captain America Steve Rogers. Now, Cap is no stranger to an update. He's had at least 1 or 2 in his time. So let's go through them, shall we? Okay, first of all, +1 stamina to his healthy, +1 stamina to his injured. Again, guys, health means different things to different characters. A character that has lots of defensive tech that they can use, that health means a lot more. So actually, +1 to Steve. Now he's gone from 5 to 6 on his 5 to 6 on his healthy. It's gone from 6 to 7 on his injured. You have to remember he also gets extra defensive capabilities on his injured side as well. So if we're taking Cap as a character, just as a character without a leadership, then it's a big upgrade. Not a big upgrade, but it's an upgrade. However, a day unlike any other. So a day unlike any other Steve's leadership. Now this used to read, each time you may reduce the power cost of the first superpower used by each allied character by 1 to a minimum of 1. So where did this work? This worked on any superpower that cost 2 or more. And basically, if it cost 2, it would cost 1. It meant that you could turn things on round 1, like a charge, like a throw. And because, let's say, a charge costs 2 power, because you're reducing it by 1 and that character gained 1 power during the power phase, yay, guess what? You can do all these cool things, right? It's cool. It didn't work on superpowers that cost 1 power because, well, they already cost 1 power and you couldn't reduce it to anything less than 1, right? So it's a minimum of 1, so it didn't work there. And it didn't work on X cost superpowers. I don't know the reason why, but it didn't, right? It just didn't. So, Cable's throw, for example, that was an X cost. If you spent 3 power to throw a 3 size, it then didn't go to a 2 cost, right? Again, reasons, forums, but they were the rules. Now, it has changed. It is no longer a reduction in the cost of the ability or the cost of the superpower. You now gain a refund. However, there's a few keywords here that are missing. So keyword number 1 is no minimum. So there's no minimum. So it doesn't mean as long as you've spent a power, you are going to get a power back. I believe that this will circumvent the restriction around X cost superpowers because you're still spending power on them. So therefore you should get a power back. So is this as good as the previous leadership ability? No, it's not. It's different and it offers something slightly different. And what it possibly does is opens up a slightly different roster of characters that could work really, really well under Captain America Steve Rogers. So it's a little bit more complicated than the previous one. It's not going to, again, a little bit like in Humans. As you get further into the game, you're not going to notice the difference. However, early doors, you are going to notice quite a big difference. Those round 1 plays are just not going to be as possible, but we know across the board that Atomic Mass Games are trying to stop that anyway. So should we be surprised about this? No, I don't think so. Now, I know people are probably thinking that he's been nerfed into the ground. I actually don't agree. A little bit like Black Ball, I don't agree. I even contemplated putting this at 1 down Red Arrow. I think people talking about how the Steve is dead, Avengers are no more, I think they are overreacting significantly. I think Steve is still an exceptionally good character. Those stamina buffs on him mean a lot more to him than other characters. And it just means that you need to get a little bit better with your power management, right? And it also opens up additional characters that maybe weren't seeing playtime under Captain America Steve Rogers. So I don't think this is too bad. I think this is well within the bounds of that's okay, and also adds makes it much easier for future proofing as well. Okay, so next up is going to be Clear. Clear Strange. So obviously part of Convocation. Not really a character you see a huge amount of, but this is a 3-cost character with 7 stamina. on her front. So yes, she did get an extra 1 stamina on her front. She also got 1 stamina on her injured side. And her demon claws, so her builder, went from range 3 to range 4. Ooh, actually, Clea is all of a sudden a really viable back point holder, both in and potentially outside of Convocation. I think overall these are pretty decent changes. They're nothing massive. And I was toying with the idea of Clea is she 1 green arrow up or 2 green arrows up? And if I'm being brutally honest, it's probably falling into the 2, and it's really weird how, one change can make a big difference. It also helps with Descendant of the Faultine, right? That extra stamina helps with Descendant of the Faultine because, well, if she does take the 2 damage, then it's less impactful than what it was previously. So yeah, but I did go with 1. But if somebody was to say to me, actually, Rich, I think you're wrong there, I think it should have been 2 green arrows up, I wouldn't be arguing with you too much. I think she could probably do a really good job now. So again, it'll be really interesting to see, because she's that back point holder. I think it'll be really cool to see how she plays in games moving forward. She still has a couple of problems, right? Like power generation is still a little bit of an issue for her. The fact that Demon Claws of Danak is just a flat 1 gainer. But I like everything else. I think she's got some decent tech. And again, as a back point holder, as a 3-cost back point holder with 7 stamina on her front side, that is not to be sniffed at. So yeah, I think it's a reasonable upgrade for her. Okay, Colossus next. Colossus has got some extra stamina, so he's got +1 on his healthy side. He did get an update not that long ago, so this is a character that maybe didn't need as much. I already think Colossus was a reasonable character anyway. That organic steel does a lot of work, not being able to be pushed by enemy effects, being immune to bleed. He's got his big brother ability there as well. And then playing catch has been reduced from 3 power down to 2. It's only an interactive terrain feature. It's fine. It's kind of what I expect. And we did speak about this again in our previous video, whereby throws have changed in the game quite significantly. Therefore, the cost of throws probably needs to be reduced to sort of bring that in line. So I think this is absolutely fine. I think it's an upgrade. I don't think it's anything massive. I think if we're being brutally honest, the stamina is on par with everything else, and the throw cost is kind of on par with some of the things that we're going to see as well. But it is an upgrade, right? It is an upgrade. Corvus Glaive next. Corvus Glaive, I mean, you saw him a lot, and then you stopped seeing him. And there was a couple of reasons for that, but the main one was how the reality gem worked and the fact that it cost power. They also made changes to Husband of Proxima Midnight, where now, it cost the power to do. So kept costing more and more and more to do these things on him. Now, if you want something dead, he was still exceptionally good. It's just that his other kit around him maybe wasn't as good as it could have been. +1 health +1 stamina on his healthy side. Now, I don't think I would ever run Corvus Glaive without the reality gem, even though it costs power now. So actually, that +1 health, he already has Glaive of Immortality, and if he's running the gem, means that he's got some extra defensive tech in there. I think that is pretty darn good. On his Atom Splitter, the trigger on that has changed from a crit to a hit. So you've gone from a 1 in 8 chance to be able to get that to a 2 in 8 or a 1 in 4 chance to be able to get that on a single die. I don't know what it is across 4 die, but you have effectively doubled the chance of getting this trigger, which is never a bad thing. It's not guaranteed, like it was on Angela, but you're doubling the chance of being able to get it, which is very, very good. Glaive's Edge is where he has had a big, big change. Now, Glaive's Edge becomes an action. Now, you may be thinking, oh, dearie me, an action for Glaive's Edge. So the second part of the text is going to be exactly the same. So basically, when he makes a strike or a death blow, he's going to add blanks to the total successes. However, the reason it is an action is he now gets a range 1 place within his current position. Now, you may be thinking a range 1 place, that's not much. The power cost hasn't gone up at all. And the fact that then this character makes a strike or a death blow. So it's almost a pseudo charge. It's just that they didn't want to give him the full move. And a range 1 place on a medium base is quite a lot. So I think this is a really, really big upgrade for Corvus Glaive. And I think it's enough that you might actually start to see Black Order and Corvus Glaive in particular become a little bit more competitive. Again, we don't need much, right? We don't need much to make these things or these characters much better. So that's Black Dwarf now that's had a slight upgrade. And now we've got Corvus Glaive. The other thing to mention is First of the Black Order, which is, the card that is never seen or rarely seen. But it used to read, when an allied Black Order character dazes or KOs a non-grunt enemy character, other allied characters gain 1 power. It is now all characters gain 1 power. So the character that actually did the killing also gets the power as well. Is it massive? No. Is it enough that is like, oh, this is now a game-changing leadership and it's going to be absolutely amazing? And no again. Is it an upgrade? Yes. Yes, it is an upgrade. But I'm going to give Corvus Glaive 2 green arrows up. I think this has brought Corvus Glaive back into contention. I really like the Glaive's Edge piece. I think that's the biggest thing here for me is how Glaive's Edge works. And the fact that he's going to get that range 1 place off it, I think is going to make quite a big difference. So next up, Cosmic Ghost Rider. And this is a really, really strange one because he's only had 1 change to his card, right? Cosmic Ghost Rider's already been through the mill. And actually, I think he's not in a bad spot. He's just not the character that he was before. And he's now gained Peerless. Okay, you think, well, AMG want to put Peerless on certain characters that are very, very good with each other. And, in my mind, Peerless are these characters that are like, I will not work with anybody else, right? Thanos makes perfect sense. Apocalypse makes perfect sense. Although Thanos did work with other people in the past. I imagine Doctor Doom, if and when he ever gets released, it makes sense. Dormammu, he kind of already had it anyway, but yeah, there we go. Cosmic Ghost Rider has got Peerless. Cosmic Ghost Rider has a card called Servants of the Titan. Okay? Now, this card now is only usable if you're using Corvus Glaive's leadership, because Cosmic Ghost Rider and Thanos can no longer be on the same team. I like the Peerless system. Really, really strange, I think. I think Cosmic Ghost Rider is a really strange character thematically to put it on, especially when he has a card where the artwork, as you can see, is him with Thanos, and it is called Servants of the Titan. So I find this one a little bit strange. I'm going to give it a 1 down arrow. But this one I find more confusing than anything else, if I'm being brutally honest. But hey ho, there we go. It is indeed what it is. Crossbones. Okay, Crossbones, a character that has really suffered Really, really suffered. Now, when I go to the character overview on Atomic Mass Games website, it does state that he has had a stamina change, but he was 6'5" before, and he is 6'5" now. I checked on Jarvis Protocols first of all, and then I was like, oh, I wonder if they're changing cards as I'm doing this video. So I had to go and get my old folder out with the original cards in there, as you can see. And yeah, lo and behold, yeah, he was always 6'5". So don't understand. I don't know if this is just a mistake from them, or if he is supposed to be getting a stamina update. If in the meantime he has got one, I'll put it down below. But the big thing for Crossbones is he's going from a short to a medium move. This is fine. I think he needed a little bit more. If I'm being brutally honest, I'd like to have seen that stamina go up, especially the fact that he's only 4/2/2 on his defenses. You know, Overpower could have had another damage on there. Haymaker, I just think it's far too expensive for what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'd give him one upgrade there. Like, is a short to a medium move enough to get him into contention? I don't actually think that it is. I think you need a little bit extra on his card. And the fact, one of two things has happened. They've either forgot to put his stamina upgrade on the card, or they have messed up with the overview that they put out there. So yeah, for me, just a 1 green upgrade. But maybe if he gets a stamina buff on his front and back, that could go up ever so slightly. And again, why would I be saying that? Well, it's the fact that because of that inert to pain, that extra health for him means that little bit more. Okay, on to the second Crossbones. And once again, stamina is nowhere to be seen. He was 6'5" before, he's 6'5" now. He's got an upgrade from short to medium. He has I Can Take It, so again, if he did get a stamina upgrade, that would mean a little bit more. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a good upgrade. But for me, it's just a 1 green arrow up there. I don't think it does enough to kind of bring him into contention. Maybe this version of Crossbones a little bit more. But again, I think he probably needed a little bit of something extra, but we'll have to wait and see. I have checked again whilst I was recording this video, because I put this sort of slide deck together last night, and then I'm recording it today. So I want to check if overnight maybe something had changed, but alas, no, it hasn't. So yeah, one green upgrade for me there. Better, but nothing crazy. Darkstar. Oh, we're on to Winterguard. And when I saw Darkstar had some changes, I was like, ooh, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? She gets +1 health to her to a healthy and injured side, so she's gone from a 5/5 to a 6/6. That's fine. Rending Force has gone from a range 2 to a range 3, which is pretty nice. And it's gone from a strength 7 to a strength 8. A strength 8 attack, range 3, strength 8 for 3 power. Choose whether it's physical or energy. That's pretty darn good. However, it does not resolve the fundamental problem that Darkstar had. Now, the fundamental problem that Darkstar has wasn't that Rending Force was a range 2 and that it didn't do enough damage. It was the fact that her power generation was really, really bad, and she had 2 3-cost abilities, superpowers, 1 reactive, 1 active, that were actually quite good, but she never had enough power to be able to to do anything with it. So is it an upgrade? Yes, it is. Having played a lot of Winterguard and having played a lot of Darkstar, I'm not going to say I've played more Winterguard than anybody in the world, but I can't be far off. I played for a good solid year and a half, maybe in a couple of stints. All I played was Winterguard, and I tried making Darkstar work, and she didn't. And for me, this is not the problem. What should have happened is Dark Force Strike should have moved from a flat gainer to a proper builder, and that would have solved all of her problems. So because of that, she's just getting a +1. Is she better? Yes. Are the changes enough to actually make her playable? Unfortunately, I don't think so. I don't think so. So, yeah, power generation was a problem, not that she didn't do enough damage in the first place. Okay, next up is Elsa Bloodstone. Again, another fairly new release that I think people were excited about initially, but kind of fell by the wayside. Everyone was like, oh, she's going to be, Midnight Sun, they get another leadership, but actually people realise the leadership on Blade is really, really good, and it's going to take a lot to displace him. It's a very different play style. It's actually a playstyle that I prefer. But what did she get? She got +1 on her healthy, +1 on her injured. It's really nice, right? She's got those rerolls on her defense with supernatural sensors that doesn't include energy. So she's still susceptible to energy attacks. But yeah, +1 stamina, making her now, 7 on her front. And I think 7 on her back is what she is. I think is pretty darn good. She's had some changes to monster hunting weapons. You can now choose if this is a physical or an energy attack. That's really nice, right? That's really, really nice. And now on the Hellfire, she's going to give slow and incinerate on a wild, which again I think is also really, really nice. So, she's going to be able to do a little bit more. The fact that she gets to choose between physical and energy is also pretty cool. I just don't think it's enough. The one of the big problems is that whilst her leadership isn't bad, she's up against Blade, and I need to double check actually if Blade has had a stamina upgrade. Let me just check really quickly on the list. So Blade has had a stamina upgrade. I don't know what it is yet because I haven't gone through those characters. But I think yeah, it's nice. Is it an upgrade? Absolutely. But for me, it is just a +1 upgrade there rather than a +2. I don't see it being significant enough where she's going to displace Blade as being the preferred leader for Midnight Suns. Even if wasn't a massive fan of Blade before, it'll be interesting to see what his stamina is now. But that leadership is just so good that means she's always going to struggle. Okay, let's move on to Gladiator. Gladiator, nothing has changed on his card whatsoever, other than, even though it doesn't show it on his card, they said he has gained Peerless. So this is becoming a bit of a thing, right? These big kaiju splash characters are gaining Peerless. In my mind, it should have been reserved for characters who don't work with anybody else kind of thematically, but there's always a balance, right? And the balance is twofold: is thematically and what they are in the comics, versus or comics, TV shows, movies, whatever else, versus the balance of the game. And I think this is one of those where it's kind of the balance of the game. Although Gladiator is a bit of a dick, like he doesn't like working with other people, but he has done before. So this is a slight downgrade. I don't know of any situations where Gladiator was played with another peerless character. maybe one that is upcoming. I just want to go down and check. No. So who knows? We will wait and see. But yeah, I mean, it's a slight downgrade because you now can't play him in as many places, but it's not that big a thing. Gwenpool. I was like, okay, this is a character that I haven't seen for a long time. She got +1 to her injured side on stamina. So like, okay, so she's below the curve on that. And now travel through gutter space. Nothing's changed other than she drops all the tokens she's holding. And this is another one, I mentioned it earlier, characters where like some of these characters that have got places have had a change where they drop tokens, but others haven't. You know, Gwenpool got one, Miles didn't. And I'm like, there's a little bit of inconsistency here. So yeah, little bit strange. She's got plot armor, you know, so that +1 stamina on her injured side kind of helps her a little bit, but not a lot. It's a downgrade, like that's the only way that we can look at it. Like the stamina is neither here nor there, because of everybody else getting more. So yeah, it's a downgrade. I don't think she was a particularly good character in the first place, and now she's got a little bit of a downgrade. It's probably the first character we've seen so far where I'm like, oh, you've nerfed that character. Like that wasn't a character that kind of needed it, but here we are. There we go. Next up, Honey Badger, and I was like, oh, okay, Honey Badger's on the list. So again, apparently, although it looks like they have changed the text now, she was supposed to get a stamina upgrade, but then it looks like that has changed, so that's fine. So she didn't get a stamina upgrade. I do apologise. Her hamstring went from strength 5 up to strength 6. This is really nice, right? This makes that 3 power feel a little bit better, and it does quite a bit. So first of all, obviously, it's 1 extra dice, therefore it's just that much better. But if you look at her triggers, elusive needs a wild, right? You've got an extra dice there to try and get the wild. The slow and bleed conditions are if it dealt damage, where you've got 1 extra dice. So therefore your chances of actually putting that slow and that bleed on just go up that much. So that's really, really nice. However, the big difference is in Ankle Biter. It now states this character cannot contest or interact with secure objective tokens. It means she can now interact and score extracts. This is really, really big. Because when you have a character on your board that can't play the scoring game, it's really, really rough. And the fact that now she can at least do half of it, I think is going to be a big upgrade, and that's what I've given her. I think this is pretty big for Honey Badger. I think now you're going to be able to see her in a lot more places. That synergy she has with Laura Kinney now, I think, is going to be even better. So yeah, I like these changes. She's more offensive, and she can play a little bit into the VP scoring game as well. So overall, I think that's a really, really positive upgrade for Honey Badger, and it sort of gives her a bit of a differentiation from Nebula as well. Like Nebula could always do more damage, and yes, she didn't have. She didn't have the too dangerous to ignore, but if you wanted a 2 threat who was going to do damage, up close and personal damage, then it was Nebula. Now Honey Badger actually, yes, is good at the damage game, but can also do some of the other stuff as well. So yeah, I really, really like this upgrade. Hulk, another character that I was quite surprised to see on the list. So what has he had changed? So nothing on his stamina front. Hulk Smash is now an auto throw. That's pretty nice. Now, you were generally rolling so many dice with Hulk Smash anyway that you usually always got the throw, but I think because the throw and the stagger were on the same trigger, if for whatever reason, and the percentage was very, very low, but if you didn't roll that wild and you didn't get the throw and you didn't get the stagger, it felt doubly bad. So I'd have been happy with them changing the trigger for it, maybe make it a crit rather than a wild. But the fact that they've made it kind of just a given is really, really nice. However, that is where the niceness stops. Gamma Leap has gone from 3 power up to 4 power. Now, this means a couple of different things. So, Gamma Leap was something that under Steve you could do. Turn 1, because you reduce the cost of it. Now you can't do this under Steve, okay? And Gamma Leap is something that you kind of want to use, or you end up using a lot, because generally you don't want to waste a move on Hulk. Now, power generation has never been too much of a problem with him, but making this cost 4 does mean that you are restricted now with what he can do turn 1. And then strongest one there is now terrain only. So it is now terrain only. And I don't think that is I don't think what he gets with Hulk Smash, I don't think there's enough in here to kind of even it out. Gamma Leap going up by 1 is huge. Again, you might look at it and go, it's only 1 power, but it's what he could do with that power, right? He could do a Gamma Leap, and then if needed, he could move, and then he could make a strike, push somebody off a point turn 1, maybe generate enough power then to use the strongest one there is, so he can pick somebody else up and throw them off the point. A lot of those play styles, at least in the early part of the game, have been removed from Hulk, and it wasn't on the list, but he did get Peerless. Now, I sort of spoke about this earlier. I played an event where I took Gladiator and Hulk under Steve 1, and had a lot of fun with it. I went like 5-1 at an event or 4-1 at an event. But that's no longer possible. And again, Hulk being Peerless, it's interesting. But for me, with the Peerless, with the Gamma Leap, with the strongest one, Hulk Smash being an auto throw is nice, but it is doing nothing to mitigate those changes. He's getting a double down there. Now, here's the context: was Hulk just too good before? I feel like he wasn't as prevalent in the game. I didn't sort of see him everywhere, but he was still solid. Should this be 3? Have we done too much to Hulk? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd be really, really interested to hear what you guys say. Okay, next up is Hulkbuster. And this is a big one. This is a character that I called out during my video who I said needed a change. And boy, has he had a change. I don't think we've ever seen this before from AMG, but we'll get onto his stamina first of all. Now, he doesn't have an injured side, as a normal card does, so his Hulkbuster side has got +1 stamina, and his Iron Man side has got +1 stamina as well, and we'll talk about how important they are in a moment. But his leadership has been removed. He is now no longer a leader in anywhere, not just the Avengers, but he's no longer a leader anywhere. But he has had some changes. So first one is built to take it. So this used to be a 1 cost. You would pay for it before you were attacked. So as you were attacked, as you were targeted, you'd pay 1 power. It would reduce any damage that you took by 1, and then it would stop you from being pushed or thrown. Okay, cool. Now, there's no damage mitigation in there. It costs 2. However, when this character would be pushed or thrown, it may use this superpower. This character is not pushed or thrown. This is, whilst it costs more, this is so good because it is now not restricted to just attacks. It is anything, absolutely anything. So other than advance or placing Hulkbuster, you can't, as long as Hulkbuster has 2 power on him, you're not able to push or throw him. This is really, really nice. I think 2 power feels about right because he can use it in so many other situations. But I really, really like this. But he has gained a new innate ability called Hulk Scale Armor. So when this character would suffer damage, is what it should say, from an enemy effect, reduce the amount suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. So now it's just a flat damage reduction, which is nice because it means that you're not having to pay that 1 power every single time. Additionally, during the power phase, this character gains 1 extra power. So actually he can turn things on like a hit and run turn 1, which is quite nice. So this is the first part of his card. Let's move on to the second half of his card, because if you remember in the video we were talking about how, like, you know, I didn't in a million years think they were going to remove his leadership completely. I'm kind of glad they are. I was trying to make that leadership work with some of my ideas, but I always said that I didn't think this side of Hulkbuster was the problem. It was the flip side. This side, in my mind, has got better, okay? Let's move to the other side, which is the Iron Man suit. So this is the little suit that he poops out. So again, we know that he's got that +1 health, which is even more important on this side, okay? Even more important on this side, because the idea with this character is you want to be able to get to always have a backup. It now means that he can take 1 extra damage before being dazed, and actually a few more, and we'll get into that in a moment, or not a few more, but 1 extra damage. So he's got that much more time to be able to get to 10 power. Now, he has also received a new innate ability called Agile Armor. When this character is defending against a physical or energy attack or making a dodge roll, it may reroll up to 2 of its defense or dodge dice. Now, the fact that he's 2/2/3, I like the fact that this is on physical or energy. It's just going to increase his survivability. I like this. I like this a lot. I am going to say that I think the bigger changes have come to the Hulkbuster side. I would have liked a little bit more on the Iron Man side. Agile Armor, I thought, might have been just a straight damage reduction. Or maybe, you know, a damage reduction and, you know, when you take damage, gain 1 power, you know, gain 1 extra power, a bit like what Red Guardian has. But hey, you know, we haven't reduced always have a backup, but we've made Iron Man Hulkbuster a little bit more survivable. So there is at least now more of a chance you get to always have a backup. But overall, guys, and this is probably the Hulkbuster side doing the heavy lifting, I really like these changes. And this is a character I am definitely going to be checking out because I think he could do some really, really good work. Okay, next up we have got Iron Lad. Again, another character who is fairly new. This is not much here, but strength actuators. It's now can use it once per turn. I don't know if this was changed before. I'm going to be brutally honest, like, because I was out of the game for a little bit. I don't know if this was changed before. It could be that this is just a as he was because it's kind of what it was before. I'm not sure. I've got a feeling it was. So, you know, it is a downgrade to what his original card said. Whether or not they've been in a errata for that previously, I'm not sure. And if so, it is just as it was. But I wanted to put him here because he did have a change. Kang the Conqueror, another new character. Now, he has had a slight change. He did get +1 stamina to his healthy side. So he's now an 8. He's now got 8 stamina on his front, and his anti-grav device has gone from 3 power down to 2. This is his throw. Again, we're seeing this now with throws. Some, not all, but some, most of the characters with a throw are having the cost of those reduced. So, yay, this is an upgrade. Is it massive? Is it huge? No, but it is an upgrade. So there we go. Killmonger Usurper, aka Njadaka. I love me some Killmonger. However, I do love me some OG Killmonger, but his character has had some really, really kind of low-key upgrades that altogether make a big difference, I think. So first of all, +1 stamina on his front, +1 stamina on his back. He's a 4 threat, so not all 4 threats are getting this stamina increase. I think most of the 3s are, but not all the 4s are. But even so, it's kind of by the by. Covert armament. So this used to be, if the defending character is within range 2, they cannot modify their defense dice. Now it is just board wide, but within range 4. This is really nice, right? This kind of makes it feel a little bit more like a shield, but without the ricochet, without the bounce on there. So yeah, really like this. And not being able to modify dice turns off so many things. It isn't just rerolls; it's also cover as well. So yeah, I do like this. And then Untamed Force. Strength of the new generation apparently has had a slight timing change. I think it's just a clarification on the timing, because again, I think this is how it was always played before. Again, forgive me if I'm wrong. And actually, during the cleanup phase, maybe during the cleanup phase was at the end of their activation, so maybe that is the change, which does make it a little bit better, I think, because it does mean that if it would daze you, at least you're on the board to be able to score. But yeah, it's a slight change. Then Untamed Force. So this is his reactive ability where he can clap you back. It's now gone from a range 2 to a range 3, and it's now gone from being a vibranium weapons to any 0 cost attack. So if they are at that range 3, it means that you can use your covert armament. So just increasing the usability of this one. I think these little changes, whilst they're not massive by themselves, I think this is really good. Now, the problem that Killmonger has is that he is a leader in Wakanda, right? That is a problem, because there are other Wakandan leaders that are arguably much better. But I think this is a really good upgrade for Killmonger. That Untamed Force in particular, and again, you don't need much, right? You don't need much to make things better, but 2 of his 3 attacks now just turn off modifications for your opponent, and then that clapback I think is really good. So yeah, overall I'm going to give him a big thumbs up. I think he's a 7/7 now as well, so yeah, I think this is a fairly significant change, and I think you could see Killmonger Usurper being played quite a bit more. Okay, next up, King Black Bolt. He's had Peerless added. It's a slight downgrade. Let's move on. King T'Challa. So King T'Challa has had some changes. First of all is on his bound. This used to give 2 extra dice. So it took a Vibranium Spear from 6 dice up to 8. Now he may reroll 2 of his attack dice. Now, it's still good. It's not as good, but he is now getting stacking rerolls, because on Vibranium Spear, if he's within 2, he could already reroll 2 of his dice. But I don't think it's not as good. A reroll is not as good as an extra dice, right? It just isn't, because an extra dice has the potential of being able to turn into an extra dice as well. So one extra dice can potentially be 2. Rerolls give you a little bit more consistency, but overall this is a downgrade. And then Defender of Wakanda, this is the big one. So this used to be more like Ghost Rider, where when a character is dealt damage by an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, he gains 1 power. This is now just once per turn, so the first time it happens per turn. And that first time is actually really important because it's even worse than once per turn. I've put now once per turn, but actually thinking about it, if T'Challa is already on 10 power, and for whatever reason somebody is attacked during a turn that he's already on 10 power, he doesn't get one anyway. But then if for whatever reason he spends power during that turn and then another character is attacked, then he doesn't get the power back because the first time has already passed. So it's actually worse. So this is a downgrade. Oh, I mean, there's an argument to say... Give me 1 second. That feels better. I was going to say there is an argument to say that this is a bigger change than just a 1 downgrade. And then I realised, and I missed it because it wasn't on their list, but it is on the card, he's also peerless as well. So reducing the ability to bring in other big hitters into Wakanda. Not that you maybe want to, but again, it is restricting him for the future. So if peerless is just 1 downgrade, then all these other things are a downgrade. Now, I don't think it's a downgrade that is going to make him like an unplayable character. I think it's bringing him back in line. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Kingpin. This is just like a clarification piece. So illicit networks now only works on secures. You don't contest any... I don't believe you contest any extracts. This is more of a future-proofing thing, I gather. For me, this is almost like a nothing has changed. It's just more of a clarification in the wording. Now, there is an argument to say that because Kingpin didn't get a stamina upgrade, that he has gone down a little bit. And I think he probably has, but I don't think, I don't think it's enough to put him on the nerf list. Magneto. Okay, so Magneto was a character that was on my list of characters that needed a change, and he's got some changes. He has got some changes. So he's gone from 6 stamina to 7 stamina on his healthy side. So he's now a 7-8 rather than a 6-8. I think there is an argument to say he could have been an 8-8, but hey-ho. His physical and energy defense has gone from 3 up to 4, but it's not quite as good as we would have thought, and we'll get onto that in a moment. Magnetic Crush. They did the thing. They did the thing. So Shrapnel Blast has been removed. He now has Magnetic Crush. It's a single target attack where you're going to destroy terrain. And by the looks of it, so when you create the dice pool for the attack, you destroy all interactive terrain features of size 3 or less within 2. You choose one of the terrain features destroyed in this way and add dice to the attack roll equal to the size of the terrain feature. So let's say that you destroy 2 size 3s and 2 size 2s, right? Let's make it nice and easy. One of them is going to add 3 dice, because why would you pick the 2, right? So you add 3 dice, and then add an additional dice to the attack roll for each of the terrain destroyed this way. So in that scenario, 2 size 3s, 2 size 2s, you'd add 6 dice in total to the attack. So that would be 3 for one of the terrain pieces, and then 1 extra dice for each of the other 3. Before damage is dealt, other enemy characters within 2 of the attack of the defender suffer 1 damage, so it's not going to affect your own people. Costs 5. Like, this could be anywhere from like 10 to, I don't know, man, like 13, 14 dice attack. This is pretty big. Like this is significantly better than what you have with Shrapnel Blast, and I am here for it. Nothing changes with From the Ruins. Nothing needed to change with From the Ruins. It was a perfectly fine leadership. Fatal Attraction. Now, this used to be an X cost, right? This used to be an X cost. So we've put it as a 1 power up to 2, but actually it's more significant than that. And there's an upside and there is a downside to this. So rather than paying X, which was choose a piece of terrain, pay 1 power for the size of it. So if it was a size 1, you paid 1 to throw it. If it was a size 2, you paid 2 to throw it, etc., etc. But what would happen is you could use it multiple times. But let's just use size 1s, for example. So you paid 1 power for the first size 1, and you could throw it. Then if you wanted to throw another size 1, well, that was size 1, so it was 1 power, plus an extra power, because you'd already used this once per turn, so it became 2 power. Then you want to throw a third size 1, it became 3 power because you'd used it twice per turn. This is now a flat 2, so it means that you can throw a size 4, but it'll cost you 2 power, whereas it would have cost you 4 power before. So whether this is better or worse is really going to depend on the makeup of the terrain. If everything you're throwing is size 1, then this is worse. If you're throwing some 3s and 4s in there, then it is significantly better because you're saving at least 1, sometimes 2 power per throw, meaning that you could potentially throw more things during the game. So this for me is like, I think over the course of a game, it will be better. But if you've got a load of size 1s on there, it's going to make you think twice about throwing a size 1, basically. Polarity shielding is a new one, so force projection is now gone. So a little bit like Hulkbuster. So what he's lost is always being reactive. Force projection used to be spend 2 power, you get to use your Mystic defense, and as a result of the attack, you couldn't be advanced, pushed, or thrown. That has gone away. Now we've seen his increase in defense from 3 to 4, and this is one of the reasons why. Now, this is going to be a little bit around power management, because now you don't need to spend this power unless you would be thrown, advanced, or pushed. Whereas before, you were using this on him pretty much all the time to get those 6 dice. So actually, from a power economy standpoint, this I think overall works out better. And the fact that you've got the extra dice on there is really good. And he still has his card, right? His magnetic refraction card, I think it's called. I think I maybe got it wrong in the last video, where he's going to get cover all the time. So that's pretty darn good. So overall, I like this change. And then he's got a new innate, which is shock, and he is now peerless. And again, they weren't on the list. Magneto being peerless is interesting. Like he has teamed up with people before. He's another one where I'm like, I don't know if he should have, like from a thematic standpoint, I don't know if he should have got peerless. But I kind of get it from a gameplay balance side of things. But overall, I think Magneto is in a significantly better position. I don't think they've gone too far with him, and I'm really, really excited to get Magneto on the board now. That new Magnetic Crush, Shrapnel Blast was something that was rarely used. So yeah, I'm really happy with the Magneto changes. I'm glad they didn't touch his leadership. I really like his leadership. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how he plays on the table. Malekith the Accursed is peerless. Fine. Like, okay. It's a downgrade slightly. There's going to be some situations where you would have liked to have been able to take another big hitter. But that is what they're doing, right? They are stopping you taking, going 3 wide and taking, a really good leader and then 2 big hitters on there that just do so much damage. I feel like Malekith could have been one that was maybe got a slight boost or a slight upgrade, but hey ho, they felt like he was in a good enough position, so we will keep it as that. Mr. Sinister, okay, another character that's had quite a few changes, another character that I called out. So first of all, he's got +1 stamina on his healthy and injured side. This means that he is now a 7/6, which is pretty good for a 4 cost. His strike has been removed, so he doesn't have a strike anymore. Instead, genetic splicing has had a rework and is now a 0 cost. And I got really excited about this. I thought maybe they had gone too far. But then I read it again. I thought this was a normal beam attack, right? That was, after each attack is resolved, gain 1 power and gain 1 genetic sample token. I was like, whoa, AMG, maybe you've gone too far. However, it is after all attacks generated by this attack have been resolved. This character gains 1 power and 1 genetic sample token. So whereas in the past, it didn't generate power, it cost 1 power, but after each attack you gained a sample token. Now costs 0 power, generates 1 power, and put a little asterisk next to that for a moment, and 1 genetic sample token. So better power economy, poorer token economy, if that makes sense. Recombinant disintegration has also had a change. It is now a set area 2 attack. It has gone from 6 power down to 5, and it interacts with the genetic sample tokens in a different way. So whereas in the past it was an area asterisk, and that area was equal to the number of tokens that you had, it is now you spend 1 genetic sample token and you can add 2 dice to that attack roll. Now, you get to pick and choose, right? So obviously when you're doing an area 2 attack, it is let's say you've got 3 people within area 2, it is effectively 3 separate attacks that you are making. So if you want to increase your dice for each of those attacks, you need to spend a genetic sample at the point of creating the dice pool for each of them, right? But Genetic Burst has also changed as well. So in the past, it was after the attack is resolved, each enemy character within range of its attack suffers 1 damage. That part hasn't changed. The trigger hasn't changed, but what has changed is now that you also generate a genetic sample token. So you can start on 2, make your first attack, not spend 1, but get the trigger, be on 3, make your second attack, spend 1, get the trigger, be back up to 3. It works very, very similar to the Mummy, right? And how the Mummy works. So I really like that as well. Engineered Perfection, nothing has changed with that. Genetic Negation, nothing's changed with that. However, his power economy has increased significantly. We'll get onto that in a second, so I'm less concerned about that one now. Such fun little play things is the same. Molecular regeneration is the same. DNA database has also changed. So first of all, it used to be he can have 3 genetic samples, right? That was it. Now he starts the game with 1 genetic sample token. Still can have a maximum of 3. However, Whenever this character rolls dice, after the effect is resolved, it gains 1 power if it rolled at least 1 crit. I really like this. I really, really like this. And that's the reason why genetic splicing doesn't give 1 power per attack, right? I think Nathaniel Essex is in a pretty good spot with these upgrades. I really, really like them. I'm really, really excited to try him out. His tactics cards are still a trap, right? Ignore his tactics cards. You don't need to take them. But overall, this is a huge bump up for Mr. Sinister. I don't think they've gone too far by any stretch of the imagination, but now he is I believe, a more than capable character. Okay, Murdoch. Murdoch got an upgrade, ever so slight upgrade. So we got 1 extra stamina on his front and back, and calculations, which is his throw. So what's it called? By my calculations, you'll be dead in seconds. It's gone from a 3 cost down to a 2 cost. These things are kind of in line with everything else. So yes, it is an upgrade. 8 stamina on his front, right? 8 stamina on a 4-threat character is not to be sniffed at. But even so, it's a nice little upgrade. It's not going to change fundamentally how he plays or where he's being played. If you're playing him before, you'll play him now. You may have you may try him out now, but it's not, it's not pushed him up the rankings or anything like that. He's kind of just slightly better than what he was previously. Okay, Mysterio. So he did get a stamina upgrade, so he got +1 on his injured side. So I would think he went from a 5 to a 6. His speed is now short to medium. Yeah, this is fine, guys, right? This is absolutely fine. Mysterio is already a solid character. He already did a really, really good job. In a game I played the other week, he almost single-handedly took out She-Hulk in 1 activation, just with the number of tricks and traps that he was able to trigger. So yeah, it's fine. It's not a massive upgrade, but it brings him in line. And if nothing else, it just means that he has the ability to get around the board that little bit easier. Omega Red. So, Omega Red. +1 health on his +1 stamina on his healthy side. Really, really good. Short to medium move. I really like this. I didn't expect Omega Red to get any changes. I kind of thought that in AMG's mind he was fine. I think he was fine, but actually I think getting these changes are huge for him. So the extra health because of his carbonadium coils, right? And the fact that he's got carbonadium armor, just that extra 1 stamina is just multiplied significantly. So that's the first thing. And then he's on a medium base. So that short move to a medium move means so much more than what it does on a medium base character. Sorry, on a small base character. I'm really, really excited about playing some Omega Red. And I actually think, even though it's only 2 little changes, I actually think Omega Red could now be really, really good. And there's a combination I want to try with Viper, and you'll understand why when we get to her. But there's some good poison synergy out there in the game at the moment. But I think these are far more significant for Omega Red than they maybe were for because most of the other small base characters are getting a bump up to medium. He's the only medium base character who's got a bump up. Therefore, it means a lot more. So yeah, I'm a big fan of these of this change, and I think it's actually far more impactful than people would maybe initially give it credit for. Phoenix, okay, another character that I wasn't sure or thought maybe would get a change. I think she needed one, but she's got some fairly big changes. So first of all is the stamina bump +1 stamina on her Jean Grey side, but actually +3 stamina, so an extra 4 stamina in total across the two sides. She has gained Peerless, which we kind of knew before, and she's also gained this new keyword called Reserve. Hulkbuster, Iron Man Hulkbuster had it as well. I gather the Reserve is just going to be like, this isn't a card that you start play with, right? Something along those lines. I think these are decent. I don't think, whilst 4 stamina across two sides of the card is absolutely huge, I don't think it's enough to get her to be in a position where she's going to see lots and lots of play time. She's a fairly complex character to play, but also she has some downsides that just aren't resolved by getting extra health. But overall, it's a good buff, but I don't think it moves the needle enough for her to make a big difference. I was on the fence with this one. I haven't played a huge amount of Phoenix, so Phoenix players, let me know what you think. Are you really happy with these? Do you think it's going to make a big difference, or is that extra 4 stamina across the board kind of by the by? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Proxima Midnight. Okay, we've already seen Corvus get an upgrade. Proxima Midnight is also getting an upgrade. Now, again, it's not huge. She's getting a +1 stamina on her healthy side. So she's gone up from 5 to 6. Again, she has that invulnerability. So that extra 1 stamina means so much more when you've got defensive capabilities. Her Quantum Starburst has gone up from 6 strength to 7 strength. Now this is nice because, again, not only is it 1 extra dice, but if we look at the trigger on there, it does require that you deal damage. Therefore, having 1 extra dice means that you are that much more likely to actually do the damage. So, yeah, happy with this one. I think overall it is an upgrade. When you take Proxima and Corvus as a package, I think as a package they are in a much better position now than what they were, and I think you could even start to see them being played that little bit more as well. St. John Allardyce, aka Pyro. So he got +1 stamina on his healthy and injured side, taking him from a 5/5 to a 6/6. That's nice. Firewall went from a 2 cost up to a 3 cost. Stoke the Flames went down from a 3 cost to a 2 cost. Firewall, I get, just being able to dish out root and slow was pretty darn good. Stoke the Flames, however, that reducing that down to 2 means that using things like Flame Jet now is pretty darn cool, because it means that you can upgrade it for a lot less, and you're almost guaranteed to get all of that power back as well. And it's going to be the one that you will... The way that I see it is, Firewall you could only ever use once per turn anyway, so it has gone up a maximum of 1 cost per turn. Stoke the Flames is probably something you would use twice in a turn if you could. So actually, within a single turn, you've gained 1 power overall on Firewall, but you've lost 2 power or reduced your cost by 2 power on Stoke the Flames. So overall, I think this is an upgrade. Again, the health is nice, but they're being brought in line. But I think these two being flipped around is overall an upgrade. It's not huge, it's not massive, but it is going to make a little bit of a difference when you are playing him. Quicksilver. So he did get an upgrade to his healthy and his injured side, +1 on each. Again, he's got supersonic reflexes, so it is going to be sort of amplified by the fact that he does have defensive capabilities. But on Speedster, he is going to drop all objective tokens that he is holding. There's a real inconsistency with this, and I kind of think that of all the characters that this shouldn't have been applied to, it's Quicksilver. Like, being able to move quick whilst controlling himself is kind of his shtick, and that's been taken away. So I'm not a huge fan of this. So overall, even though they got that extra health, but everybody else is getting the extra health, this is going to be a slight downgrade to Quicksilver, and I think is going to cause him some problems, and mean that he isn't necessarily going to be able to perform as well, and probably doesn't see as much play time. Okay, another Winter Guard character, Red Guardian. He got +1 stamina on his healthy side, which is nice. He was only a 5 stamina before, which felt absolutely brutal. Siberian Shield Slam has had a little change to it. So it's gone down in cost. It's gone from a 3 cost to a 2. It has gone down from a strength 6 to a strength 5. And now the throw is before damage. Now, throw before damage is always going to be better. The reason why is if you do too much damage, it means that you don't get the throw, because they're all, if it's after damage is dealt and they're already dazed or indeed KO'd, you can't throw them. So throw before damage is always better. 1 power less for 1 dice less, I'm kind of fine with. It means it turns it on quicker. That extra stamina, whilst he does have, some defensive tech. So focus, repulsion, shield means that he counts blanks, which is nice. And then Red Guardian suit, meaning that when he's damaged, he gets 1 extra power. So he gets the normal power for the damage that he's taken, plus he gains 1 extra power as long as he wasn't dazed. Is also quite nice. He's got 1 extra stamina there to build into his power. I'd have liked to have seen a little bit more. I'd have liked to have seen his shield throw maybe get brought in line with some of the others, but I think overall it is an upgrade. It is not massive. I'm fairly happy with the changes to Siberian Shield Slam. It means it turns it on quicker, and being guaranteed that throw is also really, really nice. And in most situations, you weren't paying the 3 power for the 6 dice attack. You were paying 3 power for the throw. That was the big thing that you were doing. So overall, I think this is a pretty reasonable upgrade to him, but it's not moving the needle too far. Red Skull up next, and yes, another OG core box character who is eventually getting some changes. So stamina, he's gone up by 2 in total, 1 on his healthy, 1 on his injured. And you can see there he's now 7 stamina on his front. Cosmic Blast has had its cost removed. Yes, eventually. This is really big for Red Skull, because it was like a pseudo builder that you had to pay for, or yeah, kind of a pseudo builder with the sap power, and then obviously the Master of Evil that you had to pay for, which felt bad. Cosmic Cube has also had a little bit of a rework now as well, whereas before you used to gain or take 1 damage per failure result in the roll. Now he just takes a flat 2 damage if he rolls any fails. Now, I worked out some quick math on this. So the chance of rolling 1 skull was about 36.5%, 36.6% of the time. So 36.6% of the time, you would have rolled 1 skull and you would have taken no damage. 10.4% of the time, you would have rolled 2 skulls and taken 2 damage. And then any more than 2 was about 1.65% of the time. So effectively, 36.6% of the time, this is now worse, because you would only have taken 1 damage and now you're taking 2. However, 1.65% of the time, it is better. What it does stop is those horrible spikes. However, this is optional, and I think the fact that Cosmic Blast now doesn't cost you to spend on it. I think actually the number of times where you're going to need to use Cosmic Cube is a lot less. So overall, I think this is a nice upgrade, a really nice upgrade to Red Skull. Yeah, it's not making him broken or anything like that, but overall, it's a pretty decent upgrade. Okay, another Red Skull, Master of Hydra. So what has he got? His Blitz Strike has changed. So he used to have 2 triggers on his Blitz Strike. One of them did the push. One of them allowed you to advance. So the push is a must. The advance is a may. They've been combined. So now you just need a wild and a hit, and you're going to get both. So they've been combined into a single trigger. Is that better? Is that worse? I'm not sure. I think overall it is better. Empowered Gauntlets, has had a change. So first thing is the timing has changed. So this used to be something that you paid for before you made the attack. So you paid for it and then the next attack. Now what would the next attack do? Well, the next attack would count blanks in your successors. What it has changed to is when you make a Blitz Strike attack before the resolve critical step, you may use this superpower. Treat each failure result in the roll as a crit for the remainder of the attack. This is what sort of Malekith and Domino used to have. This is like the better version of it, right? It costs more, right? So it used to be that you, with those ones, you would pay 2, and so you would pay 1 for each crit. Now, and this one we're just paying 2. But if you roll a bunch of crits and you can spend 2 power, and you can count them all as crits and explode them. Let's remember, because it's before resolve criticals, we get to explode them. I think that's pretty darn good. I'd need to run the math and work out like whether it's better or not. It obviously costs. It costs the same, but like I think overall this is better. And then we also have and then he's also peerless as well. Kind of get it with Master of Hydra. Like, yeah, he wasn't going to be working with anyone, so I'm kind of okay with this. Hydra Troopers, we haven't gone into any of the grunts on the other ones, because this is the first character who has grunts who is on the list of things that were changed as well. But the Hydra Troopers have had their stamina reduced by 1, which I think makes sense. It brings them in line. And they've had their energy weapons reduced in range from 3 to 4. Again, I think that's kind of fine. Overall, I think this is a slight buff to Red Skull Master of Hydra. I think originally I had it as like the positives and the negatives kind of outweigh each other, but I think overall it's a slight buff. I really do like the crit things on the empowered gauntlets, but I'd have to play a couple of games to really check that out. Shadow King, another character on my list that we spoke about, and another character that did make it for some changes. So what did he get? Well, he got 2 stamina on his healthy side, so he's gone from a 6 to an 8, and he got 1 on his injured side. Astral Fiend has gone from being a 3 cost down to a 0. That shows you how far away Astral Fiend was beforehand, right? To reduce something by 3 cost tells you everything you need to know. Now, I still think Shadow King has an action economy problem. I think you could have made this 2 cost, but not made it an action. Again, I'll have to play with him, but I think making this an action is not the best. Is it better than it was before? 100%. But I think still having it as an action isn't the best. Nightmare Visions, okay? It has gone from 3 dice up to 4 dice. Again, it costs 4 versus tricks and traps on Mysteria on a 2-threat. Sorry, a 2-threat less character. So a 3-threat character, it costs 1 less. Not a big fan of that. Yes, they've increased the dice, which is better, but they've also made it once per turn. I don't understand with this Nightmare Visions kind of why they're so reluctant. I don't know if they feel like Astral Fiend now is just going to be so good that it's going to cause them problems. So is he better than what he was? Yeah. But like, he's gone from, in my mind, probably like a low D to maybe like a high D to low C tier. Like it's not enough for what you wanted to do. And also, I would have foregone, because in my mind, like, he's sat on the back row, he's doing all of these things. I would have foregone having the stamina to just have some of these extra little things be bumped up a little bit more. So is he better than what he was? Yes. Is it enough? In my opinion, nowhere near. Shang-Chi. So, first of all, he got a buff. He's gone from 5 to 6 stamina on his healthy side, which when we see the other things that he's got, I think makes sense. 10,000 shape strike. We've had a skull added on to that stagger. This is perfectly fine, right? This is perfectly fine. This shouldn't be something that is so consistent that he just gets it almost every turn. So I like the fact that they've added the skull in there. So that is, chances of getting that now are significantly less. 5 elements has had a couple of changes to it as well. So 5 elements fist has gone from before damage is dealt, it may use this superpower. It used to be after the attack is resolved. Doesn't change too much, I don't think, on that side. So yeah, that's fine. Let me know in the comment section below, like what difference does it going from being before damage is dealt? Actually, I do know before damage is dealt. Here is the difference. Because it's before damage is dealt, if he starts the turn on 0 power and then does a 10,000 shape strike, he doesn't get the power to be able to do this beforehand. So if he's on 0 power, he can't do this. So that is actually a big difference there. 1-inch punch no longer stuns as well. 1-inch punch has gone from range 1 to range... Sorry, 1-inch punch is now range 1 from range 2. So you have to be within range 1. And when you push them away before, if they collided with terrain, it would also stun them. On his flip side, 64 Infinite Palms has gone up in cost. It did cost 1, it now costs 2. And then Wild Goose has also had its timing changed, and now basically it's pay once attack is resolved. So this is actually a little bit better than it was previously. Look, they've giveth and they've taketh with Shang-Chi. It hasn't all just been about hitting him over the head with a stick. I think, the stagger is going to be really big. He's still getting 1 extra defense, right? Let's not forget about that. It's still going to be 1 extra defense. 1-inch punch has had its range changed. He doesn't give the stun anymore. As I mentioned, the stagger is harder. I think this is an example of an overtuned character who has been brought back down to where a character should be. I think Shang-Chi is still good. He's just not stupidly good and then auto-taking almost every list that we were seeing before. So actually, I'm really, really happy with this change. And I think overall, it's really, really positive for the game. Okay, next up is a really big one. Air Force players, I think, are going to be very, very happy with this. It is She-Hulk, aka Jennifer Walters. Now, you may be looking at that and going, oh my God, she has gone down from 20 stamina to 10. And that is true. She has lost 10 stamina on her healthy side. However, she has gained 10 stamina on her injured side. Rich, She-Hulk doesn't have an injured side. I hear you cry. She does now. This is so much better for She-Hulk. I get what they were doing where all the Hulks didn't have a reverse side. But it's a little bit different when you're a leader. And the fact that Jen was actually quite easy to take down, if we're being perfectly honest, it wasn't outside the realms of possibility to have a big turn and just take her down in one turn, meaning that you lose your leader, you lose 6 threat off the board. So I really, really like this change. Her physical defense has gone from 3 up to 4. That makes perfect sense. Why was she ever 3 physical in the first place? Defense rests has gone from strength 9 to strength 10. No other changes, right? So again, this goes into the category of it's nice extra damage, but if you deal damage, so the trigger is if you deal damage, then the defender gains slow and stun, which is, again, is really nice, right? Because 1 extra dice means that you're going to be rolling a more chance of actually doing damage. Now, you should be doing damage off that many dice anyway, but sometimes you do get unlucky. And then Grammar Transfusion has had its wording changed, basically around being KO'd. So it's only on her, on a normal side, on a healthy side, it did say that, when this character would be dazed, KO'd, or whatever it is. Would be dazed, I think. You don't KO them. You sort of take them off the board during the next cleanup phase. So yeah, I think this is massive. This is going to make A-Force so much more playable. I think it was fairly playable already, but I think this is a much, much better. Now, what I would have liked to have seen is maybe gaining a couple of extra stamina points overall, maybe 10 on her healthy, 12 on her injured. But look, overall splitting them up into 2 is much, much better. It means she gets to make that, she gets to come back. She's got all the power in the world and she gets to do loads and loads of cool things. Even just a couple of defense rests as she comes back is going to absolutely brutalize your opponent's board. So really, really happy with these changes, and I'm sure any She-Hulk players out there are also going to be happy with these changes as well. Okay, moving on to Silver Sable, a character that I was like, okay, that's an interesting one. She's got 2 extra stamina on her healthy side, and then 1 on her injured, so she's gone from 5 up to 7, which is strange, right? Which is strange. I don't think Silver Sable's stamina was her biggest problem. She is the absolute epitome of a backline holder that has got all these range 5 attacks, right? That wasn't her problem. Her problem was that she kind of was a bit meh with the attacks that she was making. But fine, she gets some extra stamina. Want My Help is technically a slight downgrade. It used to say when an allied character within 4 makes an attack, yada yada yada. It's now another allied character. So overall, having 7 stamina on a 4 threat, but she's still only got 3s across the board, is fine, but I kind of don't it is an upgrade. but I kind of don't feel like her stamina pool was her biggest problem, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's like it's a slight upgrade, but it's kind of like a little bit of a meh one, if I'm being brutally honest. Sin. Okay, Sin has had quite a few changes. She's gone from 4 stamina up to 6 on her healthy side. So she's still got that 2 stamina boost. But she's now gone from a 4-6 to a 6-6, I believe. Like, why she was so backloaded in the past was always beyond me. Make It Personal has had its cost reduced. It's gone down from 4 to 3. This is really nice, right? This is really, really nice. I think the fact that it's got the rapid fire ability on there is really, really cool. It's really interesting. Like, it's called Insult to Injury, and I think they've made a slight typo here, because Insult to Injury on a wild, after this attack is resolved, this character may make one additional Make It Personal attack without paying the power cost. This additional attack must target the original defender, is a mystic attack instead of its normal type, and does not have the rapid fire special rule. Well, this attack doesn't have the rapid fire special rule, so technically, as the card stands right now, as long as you keep rolling wilds, you can keep making this attack until your opponent is dead. Now, we know that is not the intent of this card. So as the intent is, basically, this should say this attack does not have the Insult to Injury special rule. But as a typo, that's absolutely fine. Partners in Crime now has changed from Crossbones to Brock Rumlow. It means that you can use either of the Crossbones. And really, I think Undersin is one of the very few places where Crossbones does shine a little bit more. So I think this is really good, right? It means that you can play both of them, which I do really like, especially the new one, because there's an argument to say the new Crossbones is slightly better than the old one. And now Red Mayhem, you get to choose the order that you resolve them in. So what happens is exactly the same. However, you get to choose the order that you do them in. I don't know if that's going to change anything or not. There's probably some niche cases where you get to choose. But hey, there we go. That it is indeed what it is. So yeah, overall, in fact, actually, I'm thinking about it, right? Actually thinking about it, I've just thought of I'm just thinking about how this could make a difference. So, in the past, you had to resolve the push first, then you resolve the drop. You could have a character who is holding an asset token, okay, but isn't contesting a token, right? So they can be holding it but not contesting it. So now you can force them to try and drop it. Then you can put it next to them, and then you can roll to try and perform the push. So there we go. There's a niche scenario. I think this is a big boost for Sin. I think Sin was kind of okay, right? A couple of people have made her work really, really well. She was kind of okay. But yeah, I think these changes really bring her up, and I'm actually really excited to try and play some Sin games, especially now we've got the changes to Crossbones, right? Or the 2 Crossbones. Will he get a stamina change? It's yet to be determined. It says he does on the cheat sheet, but it doesn't say that he does on his card. But yeah, overall, I think these changes are really, really positive to Sin, and I think I'm going to, like I say, going to be really excited to have a game with her. Okay, who have we got next? We have got Spectrum. Stamina, +1 to her injured side. Pulsar Wave. When she was first released, this was 0 cost. I think they cleared this up in an FAQ or in an errata. They're just making the card now so that it makes sense. Pulsar Wave was never meant to be a 0 cost attack, obviously. This is just as it was, right? The 1 stamina isn't enough to bump her up or down in any way, shape, or form. It is, yes, is it a slight upgrade? Yes, but the fact that everybody else is getting a stamina rebalance means that it's not, right? Because if everybody else is getting it, then you're just the same. Steve Rogers, Captain America. Yes, there is a third Steve Rogers. He does exist. Does he get played a lot? No. Why didn't he get played a lot? Because he wasn't very good. However, Steve has got some really big changes. So he's got +1 health on his healthy, +2 stamina on his injured, which is really nice. So +3 overall is really, really good. On your left, the objective token restriction has now been removed. So on Quicksilver, we've added in a restriction that says you drop objective tokens. On your left, not only, because before it was if this character is not holding an objective token. So now we haven't gone to if you're holding it, you can drop it and then move. Whereas before, if you were holding it, you just couldn't move. So we've gone from like one back. You can just use it now. It's really weird. It makes him sort of almost for that sort of 3-4 threat range, kind of one of the very few now that can do this. So I think it's really good. I've knocked out Tyrants over 200 times, has now had its once per turn removed, so you can just keep using this. So yes, it's only on an attack, so you're not going to be using this multiple times anyway, but you might do, right? You may use the Stars and Stripes, you may re-roll your dice, you may spike your dice, you then may get the Flurry, plus a whole bunch of power, and then be able to do it again. So yeah, I think low key, Steve Rogers Captain America has just had a significant upgrade, and I think actually now becomes very viable for Shield to be able to put in the roster. So yeah, I really like this. Again, I'm not a massive Shield player, but you know, the fact that he's on 7 stamina on his front, and with his Vibranium Shield, he can make that 6/6 with 7 stamina. He's an absolute brawler. So yeah, I think it's a really, really big upgrade for him. Super Giant. Well, let's start out and take a little look. She's got +1 stamina on her healthy, +1 stamina on her injured, and she was a short move and is now a medium. Fine. I really wanted there to be some changes to the gems, to make the gems a little bit more worthwhile taking, because, you know, a 1/3/4 character that you bump up to a 4 threat is just nowhere near. I really, really liked what they did with Adam Warlock. I'm not saying make all the gems free, but I would have liked to have seen a soul gem specific for Supergiant. I think that's the route they should have gone down. Is she better than what she was before? This is the question. Yes, she's better than what she was before. Is it a huge bump up? In my mind, no. Now, she is a fairly short range attacker, right? So, you know, builder is or a gainer is 3. Her big attack is size 2. So having that move, that medium move, makes her feel a little bit better. But again, not the best. Not the best, really. And still, even with the updates, isn't, I don't think, particularly good. Immortal Hulk, because he's a big character. He's now peerless. Again, this is going to stop these big characters being splashed into other teams with big characters. I get more on Immortal Hulk than I do normal Hulk, but hey ho, it is what it is. Yes, it's a slight downgrade. I don't really think you are seeing Immortal Hulk being played in lots of places anyway. Midnight Suns is really the home for him. But yeah, it is indeed what it is. Thor, hero of Midgard. He was amazing. He was rubbish. Is he amazing again? Well, spoiler alert, because I set my little. I didn't do this right, but that's fine. That's fine. Odinson's Aya, range 2 to range 3. This is really big. This is really, really big for him. It should have always been range 3, right? The fact that it was, and then they bumped it down, and now it's back up again. Have at thee is now a 4 cost down to 3. So this isn't a reduction in a terrain throw, but it is a reduction in him throwing himself, because that can still only do 3 damage anymore, or can still only now do 3 damage. I would have liked to have seen Power of Thor being reduced by 1 as well. I think that would have been really nice. One thing I didn't spot whilst I was doing the list, because it wasn't on their list, but he is now peerless as well. He is now peerless. Does that change anything for Thor, hero of Midgard? I don't think it does. And again, should he be peerless? I'm not sure. Like, from a future-proofing perspective, if Odin comes out, like, you'd imagine Odin would be peerless. I'd imagine Odin should be peerless. I'm not sure Thor should be peerless, right? Like, this version of Thor can't be played with Hulk. Whereas it's Thor, Prince of Asgard, that can be played with Hulk, not Thor, hero of Midgard. So, I don't know. Like, it is what it is. I think if people are playing Thor and or this version of Thor and Hulk together, then they're going to have some thoughts about what they do. But I think overall, in isolation, especially within what was I going to say? Within as the Asgard affiliation, I think overall this is a buff. That peerless does just drag him down a little bit. Ursa Major. Oh, Ursa Major. Ursa Major. He was on my list. Have they done him good? Alas, no. +1 health on his... Sorry, +1 stamina on his healthy, +1 stamina on his injured. He's now 8 stamina on his front, which is really, really nice. His speed has gone from short to medium. Now, that's bigger because he does have a charge. So, he's got some good action economy there. He still needed something that negates damage, in my opinion. He's a big brawler. He should have a, thick hide, reduce damage by 1 to a minimum of 1. And I think this would have been a double bump, if I'm being perfectly honest. As it stands, for me, just 1 green arrow. Yeah, there we go. Who are we on to next? We are on to Viper, another character. And I saw a few people on the last video be like, I really hope Viper gets some changes. Boy, she had some changes. So, +1 stamina on her healthy, +1 stamina on her injured. Her poison blade is now an auto poison, and she gains an elusive on a wild. This is really nice. This is really, really nice. So I do like this a lot. Assassin's Pistol now has gained a pursuit on a hit. So she's got a advance. So short advance on Poison Blade. She's got a short advance toward the defender on her Assassin's Pistol. And then Viper Strike. If the defender has the poison special condition, this character may reroll up to 2 of its attack dice. This is really nice. 6 dice, range 3, being able to reroll 2. Because you will be able to reroll 2, right? Because she's just putting poison out anywhere. It's really nice. She's got the stealth, so she can do the poison blade, and then get herself back out of range. She's got that really nice stealth, but if somebody's within range 2, she then gets to do rather than dice equal to its defense, she gets to roll 5 dice. I think she's in a really good spot, and I'm giving her two green arrows up. I think she could do a really, really good job. I know she's in. I know she's in Cabal. I don't know where else she sits, but alongside Sin, the amount of movement that Viper now has is absolutely crazy. She's going to be dishing poison out absolutely everywhere. And the damage output has gone out because she's got those rerolls on Viper Strike. So, yeah, I think this is... And don't get me wrong, this isn't saying that she is an S tier character, but this is like, she is a more than viable character now to be able to play. So, yeah, I really, really like these changes. Okay, another 3-threat that was kind of left by the wayside. War Machine, a.k.a. James Rhodey Rhodes. What's he had? Well, he's only got 1 stamina. So he's got 1 stamina on his injured side. So he's still only 5 stamina on his healthy. However, Empty the Clip now is better. Why is it better? Well, he still gets an extra 2 dice instead of 1 for each wild in the attack roll. So 8 dice, range 3, strength 4. And now rather than take 1 damage for each crit, it's just 1 crit is 2 damage. And that is it. If you roll 8 crits, you don't take 8 damage. So I really, really like this. I really, really like this. And I think it now becomes much more viable. However, what's even better than this is he's got reload. Costs 3, but remove 2 damage from this character. This is really nice. This is really, really nice. Just going to increase his survivability. 1 extra stamina would have been like, oh, that's perfect. But he does have that titanium armor plating so that when he does suffer damage from an enemy effect, you can reduce the amount suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. I think this is a big upgrade. I think this is a big, big upgrade. Again, I'm not saying this is making War Machine an S tier character. I would say it's probably a little bit below Sin, but I think it's made him more than viable. And I think it's going to be really cool to empty the clip knowing that you're not just going to die, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, overall, pretty good for Rhodey. Okay, Wasp. Oh, we're nearly there, guys. Second to last. She's had a stamina change, +1 healthy, +1 injured, and then in Tiny Hero form, she can now hold non-civilian assets. So she can't pick up people, right, because that would just be daft, but she can hold non-civilian asset tokens. So overall, guys, I think it's a bump. We have to remember as well, with both Wasp and with Ant-Man, they both have, let me just go back to her front side there, they both have a number of active and reactive abilities that cost 1 power. These are now going to work under Captain America Steve Rogers. So, again, there are some other Avengers that can now start coming into the fold that maybe weren't there before. So, overall, I'm going to give her a bump up. I don't think it's absolutely huge, but it is better than what it was. And the extra health is always nice. Okay, and last but maybe no means least, maybe Werewolf by Night. He's getting 1 stamina on his injured side. Why he couldn't get an extra 1 on his front is beyond me. I know he's got healing factor, but he is a 5 threat. His pounce has gone from a 3 cost down to a 2 cost. Again, we're seeing that, collision damage causing abilities, a lot of them have had their cost reduced. This is nice, right? This is nice. It just makes it that much more achievable. Midnight Massacre has also had its cost reduced from 3 down to 2. But it can only be used once per turn still. I'd have maybe liked this to have been changed so that you could do it any number of times. I don't think this is enough for what Werewolf by Night needed. I think the changes, other than Midnight Massacre, the changes are either below par or just online with what everybody else got. So yeah, he's still very susceptible to Mystic, which is fine, like, you know, but I think one extra stamina would have gone a long way. So yeah, overall, is it a buff? Yes. Is it a huge, massive, meaningful buff? No, probably not. Probably not. But there we go, guys. That is my breakdown of every character that has had a change to their card other than just a pure stamina change. And there was a lot to go through there. So thank you so much for sticking with me. Now, we obviously didn't do a deep dive into some of the affiliations that are going to be significantly changed by this. The first one and the most obvious is, of course, going to be Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So we're going to be doing a separate video that does a breakdown on Horsemen of the Apocalypse, how it's changed things. We're going to look at every single character in that affiliation, how it's changed. And we're also going to start to do breakdowns for some other affiliations as well, a little bit like what we did before, where we're taking a look at them now post the changes. We'll probably end up doing a tier list video on all of the affiliations and where they change, so the winners and losers. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you happy? Are you unhappy? There was a lot to go through. But overall, what did you guys think of the changes? I think overall, they've done a pretty good job with the changes that they've made. I think there is probably one or two characters, I think, overall, where I've go, maybe a bit too much that you've nerfed them. I would say there's a handful of characters where I'm like, you could have given them a little bit more and made them a 2 bump rather than a 1 bump. And I think there are still some characters who didn't get anything this pass, who I still think are a little bit lackluster and maybe needed a little bit of a bump. But as always, guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I want to give a big shout out to Leodis Games, the sponsor of the channel, and I also want to give a big shout out to everyone who supports us on Patreon and is a YouTube member, that you can do from as little as £1 a month. But as always, you don't need to do either of those things. Just simply liking, commenting, subscribing really goes a long, long way to helping the channel. I've been blown away by the reception of me coming back. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this video. I'm enjoying making videos again. I'm enjoying playing Marvel Crisis Protocol again. I'm about to get a little treat this week, which once I can, I will share with you. So stay tuned for that. About 50-something% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. So like, if you could subscribe, it really, really does help. It really, really goes a long way. Check out the Discord. We are now going to be announcing our new event. It's going to have all of the updates from all of the cards and all of the changes to things like the affiliation list. There's some affiliation list changes as well that we'll go through in a different video. There's some other changes that have happened in the core rulebook with how terrain works and things like that. So there's not just these characters that we need to go through. There's some tactics cards in there as well. Some of the grunts have had some other changes, so the hand ninjas can do extra things now as well, but we'll go through each of them in turn. But as always, guys, thank you for making it this far, and it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.